Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm back with another process video, and this layout should be titled How I Ruin My Background with Mixed Media and Then Salvage It. It was a disaster, but that's how you learn. And while I really wish that I hadn't done what I did, I was able to save it to where I have a layout that I really like. It's not my favorite, but it is one that, I like the end result of. So I'm using the Pink Fresh Studio, and this came in one of the previous hip kits. It was either February or March, I'm not sure which one. And this green and white striped watercolor line paper by Kim Watson is one of my favorite papers that I had got in this kit. I am a big fan of spring green, that real pretty bright green, and it's just not a color that I see too often, or at least I don't think I see very much. And so when I do get it, I just love it. And I knew that I wanted to have that as my background and to feature it. So what I'm doing now is going through the flowers that came with the kit. This is from Basic Gray Saturday Morning, and I'm just punching out some of the punch outs that were with the flowers just so you can see the pretty detail that is included, and just trying to figure out which flowers I wanted to go around my photo. So this photo is just a sweet photo of my daughter, and I knew that this layout was not going to have much journaling per se. I was going to use this quote about spring, and I just liked what it said, and this came in the Pink Fresh Ephemera pack. And the quote says, "Is the spring coming?" He said, "What is it like?" She said, "It's the sun shining on the rain and the rain falling on sunshine." And I just thought that that was the sweetest little quote. And I like to switch up the things that are on my page. There's definitely layouts that I do that are heavy on journaling, and then there's just layouts that I like just to put together for fun and to have that little bit of whimsy. And this one I felt like was perfect between the background paper and that Pink Fresh Studio quote. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want things, because in my head I am going to do a beautiful Missy Whidden shimmers slash spray mist background, and the colors are just going to be coming out, and it's just going to really amplify the watercolor effect on the background. And what I want to do is get some of my layers placed, because I don't want to cover up all of the mixed media. So if I had done the mixed media first, by the time I finished everything, I would have covered up all the mess that I made. But I was trying to be good, and in doing so, I just ended up making this huge disaster. Or at least, it wasn't a disaster, it was fixed, but as far as scrappy world problems, yes, it was my disaster. So I'm really starting to like the way that things are coming together. I do like those flowers and how they nestle and work well with one another. And I had pretty much figured that at least for those two, that's where I was going to leave it. So I'm just making some little marks around where some of the things are, just so that I can make sure that my mixed media is shown. So I cut out the process of me doing the gesso, just because it's just spreading out gesso. And this was right when I had gotten my Shimmers products, and I was playing around with them because I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work and what it was going to look like, and because sometimes things just play differently. And I was thinking that those colors would be nice, and I didn't like them, so I am blotting them up. And that was the nice thing about it, is by taking that baby wipe, most of it blotted up very well. So I decided I was going to try it with the packaging technique, and what I should have done is done it in the middle, like I did trying to find the right color green gelato. And at this point, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do like Missy and I'm gonna keep pressing on because something will start coming together. And between, you know, me trying to spread out the watercolor with the packaging, it just didn't look good. And as a matter of fact, I felt like it was hideous. So I ended up walking away from it. And I save you having to watch me. I put several coats of white acrylic paint over top of it. I was very upset that I did not buy the extra pattern paper. Although, you know, to be honest, the one that I really wanted or would have liked to have an extra piece of was this green and white watercolor paper. And I'm trying to be good with my purchases and not get a bunch of extra paper because I've got so much of it, even though I love it. And paper is one of those easy things, you know, I think to forget that you have. So anyway, now what I'm trying to do is figure out how I can stretch my paper layers to cover up most of the white acrylic paint. And so my thought becomes now is let's try to make this look somewhat purposeful and just, you know, trying to calm down the pattern of the stripes behind all the paper layers. And so at this point, I'm just trying to figure out what other embellishments I can use to make that part of the layout be as big as I want to get it, you know, covering up most of the acrylic paint, but still making it look intentional. So I was trying to think what I wanted to do with my title, and I knew that I wanted to use like the two different fonts between the Pink Fresh fonts and the green alphas that were included. And I just wasn't coming up with any combination that I really liked. And as I was sitting there looking at it, I decided that I wanted to really play up on the quote that was included, and I was going to title it, "You Are My Spring." And one of the other things that I was thinking about is I felt like this paper could be stretched a little bit more. And so I decided to cut it to where I could piece it together at the top and the bottom. And I also gutted part of it that I was not going, or you weren't going to see, because that little bird paper was my favorite Pink Fresh studio paper. And I really wanted to make sure that, you know, whatever I had left over, I would save in case I wanted to use it for another project. I don't do that with all of my papers, but I will do that with my favorite papers. So the embellishment pack with the basic gray flowers came with some very light tissue flowers as well, and some tulle. And so I just layer a few of those behind the flowers as well, just again to add a little bit more bulk, to add some more interest to the flower cluster. And just I liked the way that it looked, and it just made it seem that much more. It's crazy to think one little thing can just really add so much, especially when it's something, you know, that doesn't take up a lot of visual space. But I really felt like that the tulle and the tissue paper did. So you're gonna see me fuss with these leaves, and I'm sure somebody's going to want to reach out and slap my hand and just, you know, tell me to put the darn leaf down. And what I'm trying to do again is make the leaves look kind of like they would in nature. And, you know, sometimes it's a little haphazard, and I didn't want them to be in the same position as the petals. And so finally I just stick them down. You know, it makes me crazy when I do things like that. So I had just bought some ribbon, or not ribbon, some thread at Joann's, and that shade of pink was a perfect shade that coordinated with the colors. And so I decided to go ahead and add some thread to some of the clusters. I don't do this often, but when I do it, I really like the effect, and I just think that it brings something else to the page. And I find when I am doing messier pages is when I tend to like that effect more. So at this point, I decided that I wanted to bring in a few buttons, and I'm trying to see which clusters I can get them in. And I'm taking that silver piece from the Pink Fresh set, and I'm trying to get that to go in another place. I like the way that leaves come out from the flower cluster. And when I use an element like that, I try to repeat the element somewhere else on the page, but I just wasn't getting it to work. So I decided just to leave that one, and you may see me actually pull it up another time. So this is when I've definitely decided I want my title, You Are My Spring, and I'm pulling the alphas off of the pack. And I'm going to really struggle with this for a minute. This whole layout seemed to be a little bit of a struggle. I'm trying to find a place for the descenders of the P and the G to rest. And while I'm thinking about what I'm going to do and where I'm going to use my placement, I pull out these basic gray alphas that I've had forever. And it's just a nice basic font and a bright yellow that works well with the yellows of their collection. And just titling it, You Are My Spring. And I look back at my letters and realize that I have caps as well with this. So I switch out the lowercase for all capitals, and that makes my title work. I didn't want to cover up any part of the quote because it's not a quote that I had recognized, and I wanted to be able to read that whole quote. So by fixing that, it helped. So at this point, I'm just adding the little finishing touches to my layout. The hearts and the puffy sequins are also both from Pink Fresh Studios. And you're going to see me mess with this thread. I had a hot mess on my hands, and I finally got it to where I liked it, and making it look appropriately messy, if that's even I don't even know how to describe it. It's just something when it's all of a sudden, oh, okay, that looks right, and not looking like a one big giant mess of thread. So I did use a little bit of glue to hold it down, and I also used the adhesive part of that leaf, that silver leaf, to help keep it stuck down. And here I am trying to work out that leaf in another area, and I just give it up. And for my final couple things, I decide to take off some of the washi tape, and this was also included in the kit, and just tearing off some pieces and just sticking it around the layout as well. And so part of my video gets cut off. I'm going to apologize for that, but the only thing that you miss is the couple embellishments being placed, and you can see those in the close-up. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this rather messy of a creative process and maybe learn something from it. I always learn from things like this, and did it come out exactly like I wanted? No, but I had fun doing it. So again, that's pretty much it. And oh, this is funny. You will see I'm trying to figure out a place for these puffy sequined glitter, or not glitter, the puffy sequin stickers, and I stick it under the bird, and it looks like it's pooping a sequin, and that's when I'm just like, oh, you just gotta stop now. There's, yeah, fixed it. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.